I was told yesterday that there's a widespread support for bankruptcy law reform to give long-term disabled preferred status, but there are businesses who are telling them that begins the slippery slope. That being the slippery slope of giving preferred status to the pensions. I'm not convinced that it's a widespread objection. I think that the politicians are simply being fearful and concerned about reduced political donations, and that it's up to the people in this room and Canadians generally to show who votes and whose interests that our politicians are paid to represent. We challenge the government to produce the names of the people in their back rooms and to produce the studies that they have, that they say show that preferred status for pensions and for the long-term disabled is going to raise the cost of capital. So I'm challenging them. We've sent my work out broadly throughout Canada and the world. So far it's not been contravened. Let's get it into a public forum like this one. If there's any bank, any investment corporation who'd like to stand up and tell the pensioners and the long-term disabled of Canada that it is going to raise their cost of capital, prove it.
Right on.
The Service Plan of Canada has a $4 billion exposure out of $38 billion total assets to asset-backed commercial, which was a heap full of credit default swaps, as well as direct selling of credit default swaps by the money managers of the PSP. It's totally unacceptable. In addition, the case to depot, you would all have heard, took over $45 billion of write-downs, a significant proportion of which relates to their asset-backed commercial paper. Again, steep full of credit default swaps. Serious problems in the Quebec pension plan and Quebec pensions as a result of the haircut that in the investments related to the involvement of the case in credit default swaps and other derivative products. There was a question raised on behalf of the issue of should there be a separation of the employer administration of the plan and those that govern the plan. I have to say as well, the university sector of Canada got hit very, very badly by the asset-backed commercial paper crisis. Far too much of this toxic paper sits in the pension funds for the professors of many of our students across Canada. McGill, University of Western Ontario, University of Alberta, University of British Columbia, all struggling now with their budgets, in large part related to the financial crisis that brought the stock market down, but also because they were involved directly in credit default swaps and asset-backed commercial paper. The question was raised by two people on what are we doing in Canada about investment fraud, and what are we doing about toxic investment products. I'm working with the former Detective Sergeant of the Toronto Police Services in the advocacy of the creation of a new securities crime unit. We support the new National Securities Commission, but more importantly, we support getting our securities fraud police on the beat. And so we need major restructuring of securities crime policing in Canada, and this is to deal with the Ponzi scheme discussion. And there was a question about income trusts. We were there with the National Pensioners and Senior Citizens Federation to advocate that Mr. Jim Flaherty shut down the income trust product line, which he did in 2005. It was controversial, but this is an example of what our government can do when you bring them research, when you show them that there's a product or a behavior in the marketplace that is wrong. Mr. Jim Flaherty will stand up. And I'm not saying that because I am partisan. I just know that this is a government who will listen when there is toxic products or bad behavior in the marketplace. They just don't know yet what's going on in the credit default swaps and how this is devastating pensions and long-term disabled.